Welcome to Christian Nutrition Films, the show where we review Christian films with an in-depth look. And by we, I mean just me. Welcome to the Hillsong movie review. That's right, we are reviewing Hillsong, Let Hope Rise. Someone made an entire documentary about Hillsong. But the first question you're probably asking is, do I like Hillsong? Do I despise Hillsong? Well, I won't answer that question until the very end, so stick around. This movie released in September of 2016 with a thud. While it made about $2.5 million, its budget was a whopping $10 million. Yeah. However, this was shot way back in 2014 and the first teaser was shown back then too. It struggled finding someone to distribute it until PureFlix came in and saved the day. With that in mind, I want to make a promise to you right here, right now, that I will not mention a certain song that Hillsong has made, a certain song that might be leading you to where your trust is without borders. I promise not to even mention it, again, unless the documentary brings it up, which it undoubtedly will. Let's continue our search for the good Christian films by lifting our hands in worship, or to cover our eyes, as we review Hillsong, Let Hope Rise. The film opens with Hillsong United being flustered by how they are going to play some new songs for the very first time at the Forum in Los Angeles. The way they're talking about it, it seems as if no one has a clue what the songs even are at all. Great timing. Why not play them at your home church first and then bust them out to the public later? Don't actually even think that they're going to answer that question, because I suspect they probably won't.
I believe that God created music for the sole purpose of it being used to worship Him.
Yes, that would be the point of worshiping Him via music. I won't harp on them too much for covering the basics of what Hillsong and Hillsong United is all about, because some people lump them into the camp of Joyce Meyer and Joel Osteen, and I don't see it. Though I do understand the arguments for the people to think that. Don't get me wrong, I just don't agree.
Whatever. You need Avon, but you just don't know you need it.
Yeah, sure, it doesn't make sense, but trying to make the most unnormal thing become normal is like, I guess, the adventure.
I show you Jad and JD out of context here to show you that within less than 4 minutes, they have introduced these two and Joel Houston as worship leaders. How many worship leaders do they even have?
Because I had friends and they'll do a 9-to-5 job and then they go out on the weekends, get smashed.
Well, now the documentary has become a sing-along, and I'm sure some people appreciate this. But what about those of us who are actually here to hear what Hillsong is about, and not here to listen to their music? I can go on YouTube and listen to all their music, but I'd much rather hear what Hillsong is all about and where they came from and how they got big. Basically, give us the story of Hillsong. From now on, I will be skipping over the worship songs, and I will hold off on commenting on their music as a whole until the end of this review.
Good morning, Gail. We recently got a first-hand look at how one wildly popular megachurch from Australia is making its mark here in the United States.
Now we are talking. Let's get some backstory on them.
Hillsong Church started in 1983 with just under 100 worshipers, but has now grown into a congregation of over 30,000 in Australia.
All right, now how exactly did this happen? That's what I'm most curious about.
Now their brand of rock and roll religion is going global.
Services have lines around the block.
75,000 members in 12 countries.
There are satellite churches today from London to Paris, Kiev to Cape Town.
Yes, they are popular. We know this. That's why we're watching a documentary about them. But was it easy breezy getting there? Was it super tough? Basically, we were told that the music they make is such a hit with people that, well, that's why Hillsong got huge.
It's not just big, it's huge!
And I can't even argue with them. When was the last time anyone you know talked about Hillsong's preaching? I can't recall it happening, even once.
I haven't been here for so long, baby.
It's like a library, huh?
Can we go in?
Did you hear it? Let me replay that and enhance the audio for you.
Can we go in?
She asked him if they can go in, and he just laughs. But I need to know, can they go in? Do they have permission? Don't just blow off her perfectly valid question there, Brian Houston. And we never find out if they have permission, I guess we can assume it. And we see Brian and his wife stand up on their old stage and reminisce on the good old times of early Hillsong. Not much is learned here, unfortunately.
I want to create music that kind of entices people in. We create this body of music that we put Jesus in the center of.
Is anyone in this band not a worship leader?
The only time we get on a platform ultimately is to serve people, is to help them find where they need to be.
This line kind of sums up what everyone in this documentary is going to say. They're super humble, they're doing this for Christ, and the music's good because of God. They do not have the ability by themselves to make this good of music. And no one in this entire documentary has an ego trip, which I'm sure is intentional, but it's probably also who they really are.
We're the biggest band you've never heard of. So my neighbors, they know I'm a Christian, they know I work for a church, but they have no idea what I just did last night.
I get what he means when he says that line, that they're the biggest band that no one's ever heard of. What he actually is saying is Hillsong is huge.
It's huge!
And no one's ever heard of them, which isn't true. Everyone's heard of Hillsong United. Just no one knows who the band members of Hillsong United are. At least as a general rule of thumb.
He doesn't have the guts to do it. Like, look at him. He's a wuss. He's a girl.
He's a wuss? Well, that isn't very Christian of you. That's nice of Joel Houston, son of the pastor, pastor's kid PK. I know all about that life. No, I don't. He goes up to that man and he shakes his hand, thanking him for his thankless job. I spoke too soon.
Mikey, what's going on, man?
Why can't I be a worship leader too, guys?
I'm gonna touch snow.
Do you think it's real snow?
No, the snow is a lie, and the world is flat. I bet I just blew all of your minds. We then get a montage to break free, where we see Hillsong go all over the world and pretty much be loved everywhere by everyone, along with some shots of how well their albums sell. Now that is some of the whitest dancing I have ever seen in my entire life.
It's impossible to truly know Jesus and not have a heart for others, those who are poor, those who are outcasts.
I don't even have a joke here. I just think every Christian needs to hear that. The members of Hillsong show their compassion by teaming with Compassion to visit and help out those who are members of Compassion in the Philippines. That is a lot of compassion.
So what would you say to someone who watched this footage and said you guys are doing this for the camera?
Yeah, it's an easy assumption to make, you know?
Oh boy, here comes his answer to the haters. I'm gonna go get some popcorn and I'll be right back. We're all out. It looks like Michael Jackson raided my pantry. Again.
As a church, we have somewhere near 40,000 children who are sponsored through Compassion all around the world. So, you know, it's something obviously we take really, really seriously.
Well, that's great, but did you visit the Philippines just for the cameras? That's what he's asking you.
But at the same time, I think there is plenty of opportunity, and I think God's not looking for us to do everything. He's just looking at us to do something, and usually that's the one thing that's in front of us.
He still didn't directly answer the question, though in a roundabout way he's saying that they're there because they care, but that's not what he asked you. He asked you if you're in the Philippines for the cameras. It's a yes or no question. Whoa. Keep your clothes on there, fella. There's some sisters in Christ watching this right now.
Just go with it right now.
Jesus.
All right, so we got that Jesus woohoo. We'll see where that goes.
Nailed it. That song is guaranteed to make their next album sell at least 10 million copies. I feel compelled to point out that some of the cinematography in this film is excellent. I fell in love with this shot right here. This is what I aspire to do consistently with a camera. Next up, we finally meet some of the family members of Hillsong United's members. They live with the in-laws as we find out that these guys really aren't being paid all that much. Pretty much most of their profit goes to Hillsong's ministry. I read an article by a non-Christian on this film that said it seems like the members accept this without question. While I am sure that may be true in some cases, I would sure hope that they make sure that the money they're making is being used for a good purpose and not just to make Hillsong larger. Though earlier we did hear how many children Hillsong supports via Compassion. I did a little research and couldn't find anything that said how much the band members actually make, which makes me more curious and wondering if anyone has a solid number that they could, inform us with. We see the band at Sony Studios recording what would eventually become the record Empires. As it turns out, that was the first album they made with a major publisher. Before that, everything was published by Hillsong and Sparrow.
There's probably 3 times in my life where I had a little conversation with God. All I said was that I wanted to sing and that I wanted him to use me.
We're seeing the lead female singer of Hillsong United standing in front of an ocean talking about her thoughts and feelings. I wonder where this is headed.
Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me.
I knew it! I mean, I only had to jump ahead like 17 minutes in the film to make it appear as if it happened right after that scene, but there it is.
What's been the feedback for your performance on Oceans?
I don't want to, not to sound like, because it's not about me. What?
Be honest. What's been the feedback for your performance on Oceans?
Whoa, that's a bit aggressive there, guy. Let her answer the question before pushing her further.
Maybe that moment for them is the moment where they just don't know, words to cry out to God, or words to explain a situation, and it just kind of unlocks things.
I counted 7 likes in 13 seconds. Awesome. Oh snap, maybe this song is why Borders went out of business in the first place.
We listen to people outside in the secular world doing what they're doing. They're creating unbelievable music, and I think that's pressure for us, is we want to create the same thing.
I can feel my face when I'm with you, but I love it,
Yeah, they're creating unbelievable music, all right. Ooh, I really want to copy them and all their pointless lyrics that in the end just mean nothing. The songs that stick with people are not the songs that have these pointless, meaningless lyrics. I mean, sure, the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, their music's still popular, but not in the way that classics are, the way that songs that just stick around forever are. You have to have some meaning, you have to have some depth to your music for it to really stick. Which, by the way, I will confess this right now, Relient K is my favorite artist, and it's not even a close contest, because they sing about more than 3 things, and their music's good, and the lyrics actually mean something.
I think if we started to just try and make it about ourselves, I think it would trip over pretty fast, because I don't think we're that good.
There you go. Anyone who wanted to hate on Hillsong because they're not very good, Joel Houston admitted that they're not very good. You have your proof. But it isn't like any of us are any good without God in the first place. I mean, he gave us our gifts, he gave us our life, so reality is that we're nothing without him. That got really deep, really quick.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
We are now 3 hours before worship at the Forum, and supposedly Joel Houston has 3 songs left to finish writing, and another band member has 1 song left to write. Wow. Talk about procrastination.
I feel like we have never been more disorganized in our entire life. This may be one of the biggest things we've ever done. There's always that massive relying on God to come through, and so he has to tonight.
Or you could just not play the songs that you've never played and sung before. Wouldn't that make more sense? It seems almost as if they wrote the music first and then the lyrics second. And my wife, who has a master's in music, said that some people do that, but I mean, I'm not a professional here, but it seems like maybe the lyrics should have came first in this case, before you wrote the music, but what do I know? I am not Hillsong United. 46 minutes before they go to perform, Joel finally gets the lyrics done, and
with the lyrics, we try and get them all approved through, we have pastors at church who are, kind of really strong on theology. We want to make sure what we sing is actually correct to the Bible.
They still have to send them for approval? Jeez, come on, you guys. This is going to take forever. You're never going to get out there in time.
We're trying to push the boundaries of creativity with these lyrics so it can... There's every chance they'll reply going, this doesn't really make sense.
Then again, it is the same way that, TV shows and movies are made when they're funded by someone else. They really get this final approval because they paid for it. And if you pay for your own movie, you have the final say. But in this case, the band members don't have final say because they're not paying for everything. The church members are. So they probably sent an email to all the church members and let them give a final approval on the lyrics.
Chad's getting up. He will have never actually have sung these lyrics into a microphone before.
That should have us as the audience wondering how the show will go, right? Except we have seen most of their show already and everyone loves it, so the tension here is non-existent.
People might measure our success by all kinds of things, but in the end, this is not about us. It's ultimately about God. You take him out of the equation, we've got nothing.
That line is the best line in this film, and in fact, I believe that line alone deserves a documentary of its own. Now, it doesn't get it here, but in the future, someone should make a documentary about that. That is Hillsong Let Hope Rise, and honestly, it was average, and it's not because it was poorly made, because it wasn't, but I realized some major flaws while watching it a couple of times, and that is, it's kind of shallow, and I don't mean the music, because some people immediately are like, oh, I know, the music's so shallow. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, the film's just shallow, and part of that comes from the fact that they only interview people that are a part of Hillsong, the band, and like the lead pastors. They don't interview anyone else throughout this whole film. There's probably like 7-8 people total who get interviewed through the whole film, and like that's it. Like that's really it. They don't interview any of the fans. It doesn't really get too much of its backstory. It kind of avoids Brian Houston's dad like having the whole child molesting thing. Yeah, it barely even touched on that. And since it's an hour and 40 minutes, it seems, I didn't do an exact count here, but it seems like 30 to 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes is dedicated to music. So really you got like an hour to an hour 10 long documentary here, when it really should be longer, because I think there's a story here worth telling. It just wasn't told. If you can stream it, if you can borrow it from somebody, that's what I would recommend, because that's probably the best way of going here. But you know, if you buy it because you love Hillsong, you bought it because you love Hillsong. That's really who the people are gonna buy this. And if you haven't already bought it, that's who it's intended for. You can really tell that they are sincere in what they are doing, and that the band members are not some hacks trying to make cash on making Christian worship music. Unfortunately, since the documentary is so shallow, as I mentioned before, I cannot speak on anyone outside of the band, because you never feel or truly understand the impact that they have made on churches and Christians worldwide. I mean, it's teased, but it's never followed through. I did find it interesting that the director is a self-professed agnostic, and he initially wanted nothing to do with this film until he checked out Hillsong for the first time himself and found, yeah, these guys are sincere and there's a story worth telling here. Now for the reveal. I do love Hillsong's worship music. I do have a few albums behind me. I probably own a couple more. But yeah, I really do like their music. I like their worship music. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you guys. I like it. It's some of my favorite. With that in mind, I give films a rating on a scale of own it, watch it, burn it, and in this case, I give Hillsong Let Hope Rise a watch it. Stay tuned, as actually next time I know what we're gonna review. Oh yes, we are gonna be reviewing Fishes and Loaves, Heaven Sent, and yes, that is the most Christian title for a movie ever.
Planning a musical? I call it Godstar. It's kind of a mixture between Godspell and Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh yeah, guys, remember that God made you special, and he loves you very much. Bye!